What's going on, everybody? So today I'm working on the rear brakes for my grandfather's 2013 Ford Escape. I'm not a fan of these, the car in general. It's probably like the worst year Ford Escape ever, but he got a pretty solid deal on it, so we're gonna roll with it. But the brakes are pretty bad, so I went up to do it on site. Don't mind me, I'm just looking for stuff. And there were some issues with a lot of bolts, so we got it brought back here to the shop, and we got the fronts done up there, no problem. Fronts went right on, but the rears were a problem. All the way from the bolts, we had issues with the bolts from the get-go, so went ahead and stopped. It's like, no, we'll just get it brought down here. I got my tools and everything, and we can get it knocked out. So I already got one side done, and then I got the bright idea, hey, I should probably be recording this because I'm really bad about just starting projects and getting stuff done, and then about 3 hours later going, well, I probably should have filmed that. So I'm filming the other side, which both sides are the same. There's nothing really different on either side, so you didn't want to see all that. That's just filler space. But so I only got the tire off so far and one of the bolts out. So we're at a good spot. I will get all this on video. I need to find something to put my camera on. I think this battery will work. Yep. Got the tire off, so I got my tire seat. Get my legs out of the way there. So just like any other brake job, we're gonna get the caliper off. We're gonna change the rotors and we're gonna change the pads on this. Not changing the calipers today. Hopefully they're still in solid shape. These were my bolts, which they don't look too bad now. I've cleaned them up a lot, but we had a lot of issues. And this top one is pretty tight getting in here. So that's your bolt hole, and your head comes out between your parking brake line and there. So you have to use a 13mm wrench, and it has to be a wrench. Get it broke free, and you can at least get a ratcheting wrench in there. There's enough room for that. But there's really, maybe with a swivel, but where the brake line comes in, it doesn't let you get in there straight. So maybe with the quarter drive and a swivel, you might be able to get something done in there, but I just used a wrench. It worked fine. A couple taps of the hammer. Lots of this stuff. But yeah, so both bolts are out now. We're free to take this off. The 2013, I can't speak for all the trims, but this 2013 does not have an electronic parking brake. So this is the manual apparatus. It's still cable driven. Pull it. There's your spring there to kick it back when you let off the handle up top. So you don't really need to mess with any of that. If you have the manual one, don't touch it. Don't take the spring off. None of that. Also means that if you have a computer, you're not going to be able to put it in service mode and back the piston off. You're going to have to do it the hard way. So, manual labor. Alright, let's get you guys back in there. So I'm going to pop this off and show you guys that part next. Well, at least that rotor will come off easy. I'm going to leave it on now, just for a minute. Okay. You only got a whole lot of throw in here. But the parking brake does kind of keep you from destroying the rubber line if you're not going to take all of that off or change your caliper out. So let's go ahead and have a look at what was yeah, I think he got his money's worth out of it, which I can't blame him on this one because this has been a bit of an ordeal. We had to get the parts ordered in. There are different size rotors on these, so be mindful of that. I don't remember the exact specs, but I think one was like 11 inches and the other one was like 12 inches. Oh yeah, done. Not the worst I've seen, but done. So make sure you're getting the right, wherever it's still on, the right rotor set, especially for the rears. I think the fronts are the same. It was the rears that are different, so mind that when you order up your parts if you're doing this at home. We are using a Detroit axle kit, which is pretty much what goes on everything out here on the farm. So, which their rust corrosion stuff is pretty good. I've never burned up a set, or well, I shouldn't say I've never burned up a set, but I've never tore up a set bad enough that it actually started rusting. So they do pretty good at that. I hate rust on discs, so it's a pain. Makes those grinding noises, squeaky noises, and all that. It looks bad. They got drilled and slotted rotor kits for dirt cheap. These we're not putting drilled and slotted on here. We almost did when I almost ordered the wrong kit till I realized there was different size rotors. So be careful of that. You didn't really need the drilled and slotted, but a lot of times the drilled and slotted kit is the same price, a little more, or cheaper depending on your vehicle. So I mean, put the race brakes on, yo. Why not? I personally just like them just for the fact I do a lot of towing. So on the heavy trucks, it's kind of just a little bit of that's cool, they're drilled and slotted, but you don't need them. They'll work just fine. But these are not that are going on here. So they do have the rust protection, whatnot, however that works on there. So that's pretty neat, and they seem to do pretty good and last pretty good. Their pads do good too. And I haven't had a set of Detroit axles. Now this is gonna probably vary by vehicle, but I have not had a set that make annoying little noises. I don't know if you guys have ever bought brakes, Silvers, Gulch, whatever, and you put them on and get everything back together and it makes annoying little noises. A little squeak here, little whooshy noise there, and it's just kind of how it is. It's, you know, you did the job right, everything's clean, there's nothing in there. It's just the new hardware, the new parts making noise. But, and I'm not trying to talk them up. I'm not getting any free brakes from Detroit Axle. I'm just broke, and it's affordable, and it seems to work okay. So if you don't like them, don't use them. That's just my recommendation of what I use, and that goes for anything else around here that I recommend. We're not trying to sponsor anything. We're not trying to get free stuff. I'm just letting you guys know that I've put the money up and paid for the stuff, and I've abused the crap out of it, and I like it. So I'll pass my recommendation along. I mean, if they want to send me free brake sets, I'll put them on stuff. Otherwise, I'm just gonna keep buying them. But it's what's on the wife's car, the Escape, our truck, everything. Years now. The only time we have not used that stuff is when they didn't offer it for a specific vehicle. So, but back to this. That's my little tangent right there. So once you get your caliper off there, you got your piston in here, you can go buy a tool that will pop in there, and you're gonna have to push and turn at the same time clockwise. Don't go counterclockwise, go clockwise. Now, to save you guys some headache, I went to the store to buy a tool because I had to get lug nuts. There were some lug nuts jacked up on this thing. A lot of times I am not super available to do the maintenance and time on this for him, so he ends up going to some quick lubes and stuff like that and shops, and well, yeah, don't do that. If you can do this yourself or avoid going to a quick lube, avoid it. Because I had to go get 4 lug nuts to replace the lug nuts that were put on by God knows whose impact, but they were annihilated and we barely got them off. So I had to go get 4 new lug nuts anyway. So I went up there to see what tools they had for that. I picked up this dude, which I was a little skeptical about out of the box. Now, it is a pretty neat little concept, and I'm sure we will use it, and it was cheap enough. I think it was like $12 or something, and you just put a 3/8 extension or ratchet right on it, depending on your situation. And you put the line, you get the right size nubs, and you push and turn. Does not work on this car. There is no variation on here that fits. They're all too far apart, too big, or too wide, I should say. So if you've got at least a 2013, I can't speak for the other models with different calipers, but if you have a 2013 Escape SE, doesn't work. Don't buy the little dude. They ran a kit. That one's probably got the part you need. And usually renting it's free. I just did not want to make the trip back. And, you know, $10, I was like, hey, we do brake jobs all the time. Might be a cool little tool. If it comes in handy once, it pays for itself. As of now, it has not paid for itself, so it's in the drawer of shame until it does. But back to this. You got my tools. So I was not making another trip back, as I stated. So what I did is I got my custom tool, which is a half seized up pair of needle nose pliers. And what I do, and I'll try and get this all on video, but I put them in there, they fit pretty good, and I push and I turn clockwise. So it's not fun. It's probably, get you guys lined up there, it's probably easier to use the tool, I'm sure. The store is 20 minutes away though. I got rain coming in, and I'm lucky enough that today is 60 degrees at the beginning of January. So, oh man. But again, it is not easy. It's also why I left the rotor on here, because this kind of rests on there real nice without putting any stress on my lines, so I don't have to unhook this thing. Now, I'm sure some of you professional mechanics are like, you didn't undo the bleeder. You're correct. I did not, and I won't. I did spray the bleeder on the other side, and I did put a socket on it, and I gave it a little tug, and then I just kind of let it, not today, as long as these still work. I don't want to screw them up. Oh my goodness. So I did not open the bleeders. Usually when I can't get a bleeder open, I will just crack the main line. That way I can try and avoid bleeding the whole thing out. But that didn't want to loosen up either. This side, it's moving. Alright, this side's being stubborn. It did move, but I feel like it needs to go more. Definitely do not believe that we are all the way. The line is cracked. Let's see if we can give the piston a little bump with my persuader. Let's see if it's just stuck. In the worst case, we just destroy it and have to go buy a new one. I really don't want to deal with that, but it's what it is sometimes. And back it off. I think that did the trick. And now it's bottomed in there. I don't know if it's actually bottomed. I didn't crank it till it stopped, but it's enough that I believe I can work with it. I gotta get this tightened back up. The next fight's gonna be seeing a lot of times on if this has gotten too hot or if it's too worn out. Your slide pins might be in rough shape. These have to be, they've got to be working. Not just for the sake of burning your car to the ground if it decides to get hot enough to catch and stick, but you ain't even gonna be able to get the pads in properly. Usually if they're stuck up bad enough and you're having this much trouble with your caliper, I would just go out and get a new caliper. Unless you're stuck somewhere, you need to get home, or it's a temporary fix until you can get a new caliper, but I would just get a new caliper. Alright, now, just kind of wrestle that around. This was just loose, I swear. Get your new pads in. Toss your new rotor on. And then just slide it all back together. Now keep in mind when you go to put those pads in, one of them's got a springy dude, one of them does not. This one goes towards the inside, that one goes towards the outside. That's the same on both. So don't try and put the springy dude on the outside, which I'm sure you noticed. Sometimes I get a bad habit of, tearing stuff apart and all that. Let's check out my bolts here. Spray these down. Those are looking a lot better, and the threads look good. Now we just gotta fish him back in there. This one's a little tough to fish in there. It's really tough with one hand. But it doesn't quite want to fit, so you gotta get it started, and I'll put you guys down here, and you gotta pull the whole assembly away. And that's gonna just kind of wiggle this away without ripping the whole thing back apart. And that's gonna give you just enough room to slide him in there. Like so. Lining it up, yeah, well. The other side didn't do too bad. The bottom one, you guys can see that in there. Maybe not. The bottom one's wide open. So I always put that one in first to get things started. If I can find it. Add a few turns just to hold everything, keep everything from wobbling off on you. This top one was a little bit of an issue on the other side too, so, oh, there it goes. Just kind of pull it away. It's real tight in there, and let it find it. Get it started some, we'll get the wrench back in here. Only gonna be able to get so far, and then you gotta go to the inside of this park and brake line. This thing is just really all up and away. Biggest thing is just make sure you get that tool ahead of time, or go the route I did if you don't want to buy the tool, or don't have the tool and you're already this far in and don't want to go to the store, which I also understand. Go a pair of needle nose. Or if you're handy, like a handy fab guy, you could probably make yourself a little something. So if you don't need to replace your calipers, it's not too bad. There's a little bit of a workaround here. I mean, you can, it's kind of a pain to maneuver everything and all that, but you can do it. Especially if you're kind of like me and you just kind of jump in and start doing it and then realize you need stuff a minute later. Forgot to put my springy dude back on. Now your kit should come with new springy dudes. That's entirely up to you how you want to do this. Whole project is, when it comes to brakes, don't follow my advice. I'm just here to show you the general procedure, but sometimes these little spring clips that come in, same with the little clips that go under the pads, not a fan of them. I have destroyed many a clip just trying to put them in without forcing them. And yeah, so if the one that comes off, in my opinion, and what I do, is in really good shape and not loose, like that one there is really tough, really good shape, it's not all rotted out, it's not brittle, I'm putting it back on. I'm put it that way. You do you, but I'm putting it back on. So I am going to pop the tire back on, and we're gonna test this thing out, make sure pushing these pistons in and everything, make sure everything kind of self-adjusts, give it a few little test stops, take it for a test drive, and we're gonna have brakes. So not too bad, not too bad at all. So if you got a 2013 Escape, you're having issues with your brakes, or you sat there for about 10 minutes trying to C-clamp in the screw piston and couldn't figure out why it wasn't going to move, that's why you got to turn it. But just keep in mind, like we had on this one and the other one, which you guys didn't get to see, if you're turning and pushing and giving it everything you got and it's not moving, get that clamp or clamp on there of some kind and just give it a little bit, like just kind of a hand tight. You're not trying to push it in, but you're trying to kind of almost break it free, like it's stuck. It's like it'll spin, but it won't move. So just kind of give it a little nudge, and then get that clamp off there and get back in there and turn it, and just kind of repeat that process until it wants to move. Now if you peel that boot back in there and it looks like garbage on the inside, unless you have to, I wouldn't even try it at that point. I would just get new calipers. So, which this thing has really low miles, but it has a lot of set time. So I didn't think we needed calipers. I know it doesn't get driven often, but it always stops fine. Nothing ever hung up, nothing ever pulled. Okay, so that stopped pretty good. All I did is I put the pedal to the floor twice. Obviously it was very soft the first 2 pushes. Third push it hardened up. Kind of set those pistons where they need to be. Do a little back and forth to make sure nothing's dragging. And now we'll give it a little road test. Go up here, about 45, and I like to just kind of press on them and make sure nothing's pulling either direction, and then we'll go out to the highway and I do a highway test. We'll get up to highway speeds and come up to the next turn there and give it a heavy stop and make sure again it's not going to pull any which way or stick or anything like that. So, which that felt good there. Now I'll come out here and slam on the brakes. You guys who test brakes by driving them down the road and mashing on the pedal or something else. Well, if it stops hard. Don't be like that. You drive around stomping on them all the time? I didn't think so. Alright, that feels good. Good, solid push all the way through. Dad, we don't need to be out here ramming and jamming on customers' brakes. I mean, obviously this one's family, but if you want to test your brakes that way, that's fine. But for reasons like that, I don't go to shops anymore. Alright, that feels great. Let's get it out here on the highway. Get it up to speed. Since we got it in, I see there's a few lights on the dash. We're gonna plug in and see what we can do about that. See what we got going on with it. Now it's yelling at me, I ain't got no hill start. This has got some issues. I think it's ABS sensors are going or gone. For a while now it's had some ABS traction control light problems on and off, coming and going. Said something about checking coolant, which might just be an interval thing, or there might be a problem there too, but we're gonna have a look since we already have it down here and have it at the shop. This thing spends most of its time traveling all over, we'll say the country, to different bird shows and pigeon shows and sales. He breeds exotic pigeons and rare breeds and whatnot, or different birds and all that. And pretty cool to get into. There we go. Oh yeah. Beautiful stop. Nice, smooth, no noises. I think that's a win. I don't mess around with the adjustable pistons a whole lot. A lot of the stuff we get in is, you know, it's old and, you know, you just push it in. So, or we're putting a new caliper on it, which a lot of the stuff we get most of the time ends up being a new caliper, because as you've seen in some of the videos, we're pulling stuff out of fields and whatnot, and if it makes it home, driving it home, I'm lucky they worked that much, but if we have to do any kind of brake attention, usually it just ends up getting new stuff. It's not worth trying to tear apart and hope and all that, and especially if it's going to be something that we're not keeping and it ends up getting sold. Man, we're not trying to get anybody hurt, so I do not like sending anything down the road. I mean, if it's a project, that's one thing, and it's getting trailered and they're aware, but these feel pretty good, so we're gonna get this pulled back in here. Yeah, we've got a check engine light and the classic ABS, followed by the traction, stability, and the infotainment thing, which I think on your guys' screen is just a lot of flashy lights, but I hate how engine lights come up on these on video. So okie doke, I'm gonna get this thing plugged in, checked out, and ready to go, and we're gonna get it back up to him. Yeah, mainly this video was just to focus on that since I was already doing it. Hopefully it helps you out if you're doing this year or a similar year. I'm not gonna promise you that similar years are the same. Check out someone else's video from here if this didn't answer your questions, please. So, but hopefully it helps you out. I'm gonna get this thing knocked out, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Don't forget to drop a subscribe if you like what you saw.